So I want to welcome you to our last Newton Series class, and I want to thank you all very much. You may not realize it, but together we have listened to 16 different speakers this semester. So I wanted to say thank you, and actually one of our speakers is in the audience even today. So thank you for doing that. It's been enjoyable. We've covered everything from venture capital through media, software, hardware, fintech, talked about diversity, education, and even heard from an accelerator. So the intent of the Newton series is to be a stepping stone and a first step to think about entrepreneurship, to get a flavor for what might be enticing to you all or what you may not want to pursue, either one. And so I wanted to take a moment to talk about our year in review, to talk about the paper, to talk about evaluations, some things that are coming up for next year, and then our big event of the evening, which will be the Delta Prize. On the 3rd of May, the report is due for class, and it sounds very official, but here is the intent. This is a first step in thinking about entrepreneurship, and you've been exposed to 16 very different individuals from very different industries. What I am expecting from you all is a 1 to 2 page paper. Quantity is not necessary in this case because I will be reading them all, but I really would like some insights from you all on what you think are the key attributes from your perspective of an entrepreneur and how those attributes were demonstrated in 3 to 5 of our speakers. It would be very helpful if at the top of your paper you would list the 3 to 5 speakers or more if you think that's applicable. And then I want you to think a little bit about what that meant for you, how that impacts you going forward. I am not expecting that everybody in this class will be gung-ho on being an entrepreneur, but maybe there's some aspects that you can use in your life and thinking about being innovative in your studies, innovative in whatever job you're going to go into. Or frankly, maybe it's something you realize that you're not interested in. But what I'd really like you all to do, I realize it's a busy time, but I'd like you all to sit down and really contemplate and think about some of the speakers who've given their time very generously, and we're thrilled to be able to interact with you all. And think about what an impact that what they said might have had on you and some of the attributes. So I don't have a rubric other than that for the paper. I really look forward to reading them. I just want you all to know I'll be on 2 long flights on Thursday and Sunday. So if you want to get it out of the way, go ahead and upload those papers onto B Course, and that's where we'll be grading, is on B Course. And this afternoon, also after class on B Course, Nikhil, the GSI, will be uploading your attendance so you can look at that and get a feel for where you are in the class. All grades are pass-fail. In addition to that, when you came into class, you should have gotten an evaluation form. For those who talked to me at the beginning of the semester and told me that it's digital, I just want you to know that in the spirit of why, fix it if it isn't broke, I guess, the College of Engineering is still doing paper-based. But the good news is it's flexible. You can use pen or pencil to fill it out. So I'll be leaving the room for a while, and you can fill those out, and those will go back on the, they'll go into the envelope and be on the table up front.
Vicki?
Yes?
Dark pen. Dark ink pen.
Dark, yes. Don't use red, don't use green, dark blue or black. And fill those circles in completely. I also wanted to alert you to 2 things that are coming up. One, if you're not already familiar with it, the Satarja Center for, I think, 4 years now has had the Berkeley Method of Entrepreneurship Boot Camp. It is a 1-week program, 2 credits, that takes place the week before the semester commences. Gigi Wang is the instructor for that class, and it is an intense 4.5 days, but it'll knock your socks off. You'll be grouped together with other individuals, both from the US and internationally. And so think about whether or not you might want to sign up for that. My understanding is it is not ready for you to sign up, but think about it. It'll take place August 15th through the 19th. And the other thing that I wanted to let you know is that we've been busily at work on our Newton series for next fall, And the nice thing about Newton is that it switches every year. It's very rare that we have speakers come back again, and that's by design. And so next semester, we're looking at some newer topics. We've invited somebody to talk about climate change. We've invited an individual who is doing a startup app with someone who's very timely right now, Stephen Curry. Can't guarantee that Stephen Curry will come in, but you never know. The founder of Wired, who has a new company called Nuco, will be joining us. We have another somebody actually, I do tell you all that I do look at your feedback all the time, and somebody was really insistent that we try to have somebody who talks about design and working with design. And we have an excellent design company. The co-founder of an excellent design company will be coming in. So we'll have a very different perspective next semester, but equally prestigious speakers. And so it would be fantastic if you wanted to sign up again. For the first time, I can say we're already almost 10% full for next semester, so sign up quick. Last, I guess I wanted to open it up for a moment, though, to questions, if you all have any questions before I introduce our agenda for today. Any questions on the paper, attendance? Again, I'll be putting up a link at the end of class today. It is so weighted over there. If you all want to take a moment and kind of journey over this way and sit in these seats, that's fine. We'll bear with you for a moment. And I want to let you all know it has been such a pleasure to have you all in class and listen to your questions. The reason why speakers attend, and people have asked me what incredible perks we offer to the speakers, and the perk is that they get to come back to campus if they've graduated, and entertain questions from you all. And they really, really thoroughly enjoy it. And I've enjoyed listening to your questions this semester. At the end of the semester, it has been our tradition now to have the Delta Prize. This is our third time awarding the Delta Prize. And the Delta Prize was initiated actually by none other than Eugene No of the Satarja Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology. Eugene, you've been with SCET for 2 years, 2 full years. And in that time, I think that you've had 20 plus teams that you've mentored and helped to go from incubation to acceleration. Does that sound maybe less? I'm being conservative, huh?
Total teams, Delta Prize, 11.
Yes.
We can talk about it.
Yes. So it gives me, so what we're going to do this afternoon, and Eugene will go over that as well, but Eugene is going to be talking about where are we now, one of the former prize winners, and then we'll have presentations from 3 different teams that have been working toward the prize. And we also have esteemed mentors and judges in the front row, and if we're lucky, I guess we'll hear from them. We are going to hold questions until the end, and then you're allowed to swarm the stage. That is my understanding. So we'll kind of play it by ear. But without further ado, Eugene, I wanted to welcome you. Thank you very much.
All right, well, welcome to the Delta Prize Demo Day. This is something that we've instituted from the beginning, and thus our third version of it. We like to do this at the end of every semester because it gives us a chance to showcase the teams that have gone through various Satarja Center programs. And this class is really focused on accomplished entrepreneurs who've gone on and done amazing things that you can read about in the paper. But we want to take some time to focus on founders who are earlier on in their journey. And so as Victoria was saying earlier, she was reviewing the speakers that you've had here over the course of the semester. And they've included fintech and edtech and big data and media and robotics. And they've addressed a lot of different topics. We've had even the film last week addressing the gender gap in technology. So there's been a really wide range of topics covered this semester, but we want to make sure that there's range in age and stage. And most of the founders who've come in here thus far have really been farther along in their career. And Ben Horowitz, our first speaker this semester, as personable as he was, as willing as he was to stick around and sign your books, it's not so easy to see yourself in someone like a Ben Horowitz. And so tonight what we want to do is showcase founders that are earlier in their journey and not much farther along than you might be in your own journey. And because of that, perhaps they might be more relatable for you. And so most of the Delta Prize finalists are either in grad school or have only been out of undergrad for a few years. And so, although not all of you here will end up becoming startup founders, I hope that you will see a bit of the innovator and the hacker and the hustler that you see in our founders. Hopefully you'll see a bit of that in yourself and be able to imagine what you might be doing in 3, 5, 10 years. But before we jump into the actual presentation by the finalists, I'd like to start by bringing back a team from our very first Delta Prize. So 1 year ago on this very stage, Rick Ling stood here and he pitched Instant Esports. They were awarded the Delta Prize. At the same time, they were accepted into Y Combinator's summer 2015 batch. And they got in on their first try, which is an accomplishment in itself. They went on to raise $2 million. And since then, they moved back to Berkeley and are now building their company. So now that it's been a year since Instant Esports won the Delta Prize, I thought this would be a great chance to bring Rick back to tell us about their journey over the last year. So please welcome Rick Ling to the stage. Let's see, yeah.
Does it work? Hello?
All right, so Rick, before we get started, we were thinking about doing a full-on kind of pitch, a mini pitch, but I think it'd be great for us to just talk through what Instant Esports is, what it does, how you came up with the idea.
Yeah, for sure. So Instant Esports is what we think is the best way for fans to keep up with esports. And for those of you who don't know, esports is professional video games, people competing for prize earnings of millions or more, and then also the millions of people who watch them compete. And we're catering to the fan demographic of people who want to keep up with their favorite teams, their favorite players, the competitions, and stuff like that. The idea started kind of pretty much as a school project. It wasn't meant to be a company. Me and my co-founder, Jonathan, who's not here right now, we wanted to just build a simple way to keep up with, at that time, League of Legends LCS, because it was a mess. The app kind of grew from there. People started using it, and then we had the idea is, okay, what if we put our full force and put all of our energy behind it? What would happen? I convinced Jonathan to not take a job. He graduated a semester earlier than I did. We started working on it full time, brought on a third co-founder, Sebastian, who's, I guess, a dropout now. And so then we decided to start Instant Esports, went through CET with the Venture Lab program. We were also part of Free Ventures, and now we're here.
One of the things I remember that impressed me when you first applied was that you'd actually built this for fun. As you were talking about, this is a need that you had. You built it for yourself, put it on the App Store, and all these people were downloading it without any kind of promotion. And you guys had really tapped onto a need that was a latent need. There was pent-up demand for this.
It was easier to build a product, I think, since it's been a year since then. It's a lot easier to build a product that you use yourself. I think that's what we started to realize. When one of our guys aren't using the product, it's like, okay, maybe we're not hitting the right need. And I think overall it becomes it's easier to move forward because you can make decisions that you understand.
Yeah. So who here has heard of League of Legends? Whoa, okay. Who here has played or watched League of Legends? Okay, that's like a quarter of you. All right, if you haven't downloaded Instant Esports, you need to do that right now. All right. You guys got into Y Combinator. It was remarkable how the timing really aligned. I think you found out a couple days before the Delta Prize Demo Day last year, and so it was a great time to celebrate getting into YC. And it's one of those things that will always stay with you. If you go to Cal, you'll always be a Cal grad, you'll always be a Bear. If you go to YC, you'll always be a YC alum. And there's a lot of mystique, a lot of prestige and a lot of mystique about it. And I'd like to hear what, as you went through the experience, what was true about the things you had heard, what was hype, and what you think was the most valuable thing you got out of the experience.
I think getting to YC is kind of similar to getting to a good college. Just because you got in doesn't mean you'll end up being successful. There's a lot of companies I go through. But being a good program, there's a lot of advantages that come with it. And for us personally, I think one of the biggest advantage was the fact that there was a very, very strong network within the YC community. You have, over 1,000 founders. No, actually more than 1,000 founders, 1,000 companies within the network that you can reach out to. There are B2B companies within our batch that was able to get their initial customers just from other YC companies. And it's because starting a company is hard. And I think locking yourself in a room with 3 other guys versus having other people you can rely on and ask, and we still communicate with our YC batchmates today. It's nice to have. I think it's been very, very beneficial. YC is also very good, I think, at driving different mentality that you see from reading, Medium blogs, Facebook posts that other people don't really realize. So for them, during the 3 months program, every single week you essentially have office hours with a small batch of batchmates. So in our batch, it was 120 companies split into, I think, maybe 4 groups, and then within those groups divided in half. So we have a small group of like maybe 15, 20 companies. And then we meet every week to kind of go over progress and what everyone is doing. And there's that kind of competition when like someone else says their numbers and your numbers isn't as good, and it kind of keeps you going during that 3-month process. And it's always, what was your KPI? Why didn't you hit your KPI? How can you hit your KPI? And that was sort of the whole kind of YC mentality, and we've been doing that ever since. Is how can we hit our growth metrics and how can we keep moving forward? And that keeps you from getting distracted. I think it's easy to get distracted going to, conferences, depending on the company you are, obviously. Going to conferences, going to speaker events, I'm one here. But stuff like that, it's making sure you're focused on growth and making sure you're actually building something people want.
Okay. I'm sure that you've gotten a lot of inquiries from friends and friends of friends and friends of friends of friends who are interested in applying to YC. And a lot of them ask you for advice. And so instead of emailing Rick your questions about applying to YC, Rick can answer all your questions right now. But what advice would you give for people who are considering either here or people who might be watching? But if you were to give a simple piece of advice for people who are applying to YC, what would it be?
Don't focus on getting to YC, just focus on growing the company. I think that's probably the best way to get in. You can optimize for certain temporary numbers. You can, like it's easy to acquire users if you're a consumer product. Easy to get an LOI if you need to, just having some sweet deal in. But I think it's better to focus on growth, and then when you think you're ready to kind of accelerate that growth, then apply to YC. I think substance what matters. Yeah.
All right, good. Now, for a lot of companies, even YC companies, fundraising can be long, it can be a grind. Your process went pretty quickly, and I believe you raised while you were still in the program. And so it came pretty quickly for you guys. And what do you think was the key to fundraising so quickly?
So we were in a fortunate space that was growing really, really fast and had a lot of eyeballs in it. I think that contributed a lot. We also had pretty decent numbers regarding to what we were building at the time. And so I think those 2 factors added up together. Yeah. Obviously being part of YC did help, but it was more so we got people to believe in what we're doing, and we're super thankful of that. And now that we have enough money, we don't really have to worry about it and can focus on kind of building the things we want to build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, for so many of the founders that I work with and hear about finding the right investors who are willing to invest in, who are able and willing to invest in your space at the right time to get you to focus on building is really key.
It's a pretty big
difficult.
It's a pretty big deal to have someone give you their money to build what you want to build. It's like people talk. You hear the TechCrunch, announcement of funding and stuff like that. But essentially, someone is literally giving you their hard-earned money. Their hard-earned money to build what you want to build, and they believe in what you're building. And so, getting the early investors were very important. We raised from the house fund that recently announced. Jeremy Fiance was running that. He was one of our first investors. KPCB has like a small seed stage fund that we also raised from, and those kind of segued into meeting other people, getting introductions, and it's just having someone to believe in you. I think is a pretty vital part.
Well, I'd like to transition to what it's been like after you left, and I want to particularly focus on your product. And so, what are the biggest surprises that you have learned from your users? Either explicitly or based on their behavior, things that you've learned about them, and how that's shaped your product and changed the direction of your company since you first started.
So we use our own product, and so there was a lot of assumptions that we made actually were false because we represent a small demographic, like a small portion of the whole demographic. I think for the most part, if you compare like sports to like esports, esports fans aren't, I would say, as fervent of fans as traditional sports fans, and I think part of it lies in it's a younger industry. It's been here. I mean, esports as a term, as a concept, has been here for a while, but the teams that people cheer for, the players that people care about, majority of them has been around for maybe 3 or 4 years. So it hasn't been that long. Whereas if you're a Warriors fan, maybe your family was, and you grew up being that, you grew up watching with your family, with your friends, and that creates a much longer kind of lasting relationship you have as a fan for a sport. And esports isn't quite there yet. I think there is some time until it develops into something where I come home from work and I sit there and I browse and read articles and analysis for the next 3 hours. Whereas gamers, come home, you play the game. Why am I going to read any of your articles? And so that's been kind of the biggest thing. And so we're slowly transitioning into a more of a casual audience and less on the analytical and hardcore esports side of things. I think we'll get there one day. I don't think it's our company's position to do that. I think we'll cater more to the audience now as opposed to later.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, you opened up an office. You moved back promptly after finishing at YC. You moved back to Berkeley, and you opened up your office here in Berkeley. And I'm curious why you chose to move back to the East Bay.
So we moved down to Burlingame for the summer for YC, and one of the reasons for that was at YC, it's kind of, you can request office hours with partners at any time you want. We requested an office hour one time while we were still in Berkeley at I think 6 p.m. and it took us 3 hours to get down there, and then another 2 hours to come back, and the office hour was 10 minutes, and so it just didn't really add up. And then because of that, you wouldn't want to request office hours anymore because you're so far away, and so we decided, just let's move down there for the summer, work out of a living room. But down in Burlingame, there's like quite literally nothing. It's a great city. I like it. It's nice and quaint. But as like we're all in our 20s, there just really wasn't much down there.
Well, it's a good place to start a company then.
Yeah. I stayed in the living room all day. And so when YC was over, we kind of made the collective decision to move back to Berkeley. A couple reasons is our whole team is from Berkeley. So we have 3 founders. Our 3 employees are also graduated from Berkeley, different ages, different years, but it was all part of the Berkeley network. They still had friends here. And so it just made sense to come back. We didn't want to live in SF just because it was expensive. If we needed to go in the city, we can't just BART to the city, and Berkeley just seems like the ideal location. And we found a really sweet office space for really, really cheap.
Yeah, which is dog friendly. That was a nice.
Yeah, and it's dog friendly.
And a very big screen for
it's
watching
it's
and playing
it's a
games.
storefront with like a license to let us operate it as a company. Yeah.
All right, last question. What advice would you give to any aspiring startup founders here?
I think there's a lot of, generic ones, like talk to your customer, focus on growth.
How about for those who are either students now or soon to graduate even, in many cases here, but in your stage, how old are you?
22.
So you're 22, and you started this company when you're 21. Mm-hmm. So what has it been like for you as a 21, now 22-year-old to found a company? What do you think that the people in your situation should be thinking about as they consider starting a company?
I think it's not so much starting a company, but building something that you really enjoy. And I think you'll know that you really enjoy building whatever you're building when you decide to, put 2 or 3 weeks aside and solely dedicate yourself to it. Nothing else, no distractions, nothing. And one of our big revelation as a company was during spring break, where literally all we did was work every day from like 8 a.m. to midnight the same day. And that was something where I enjoyed every moment of it. And that's when I realized I really wanted to take this full time, that I really wanted to build something that I was proud of and people wanted to use. And so it's easy to say, I'm graduating and I don't want to go to work. I just want to start my own company. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. I think it's more so like you found something that you really enjoyed and you went ahead and pursued it, and it just happened to be something that you build into a business. I think that's the better way to look at it.
Yeah. All right, any questions? We'll take two questions since we've got Rick up here. All right, nice and loud.
You said earlier that it was a class project that started it?
It wasn't a class project. It was a side project.
Project. Okay, so nothing to do with academics, you just did it?
Yeah, just did it on the side.
Okay, do 2 more questions. I thought it was a class project.
All right, 2 questions. But I liked your question. It was nice and clean and clear and direct.
I kind of cut off your
and
follow-up
short.
right there.
All right, we got a question over here.
What was the best thing that you learned or got out of your YC experience?
Don't do growth hacks, I think. That was what it is. Like we had, at some point, built like a Twitter bot that tweeted at fans, and it was like the worst thing we've ever built in our lives, and we were like disgusted with it. So, and it doesn't work. If your product isn't good enough, like growth hack doesn't do anything. I think figuring out how to grow organically inherently is much better than trying to hack it.
All right, and last question. Who wants the last one? All right.
Being so young, when you started the company, I assume you benefited a lot from mentors. How did you go about finding those mentors, and did they help a lot?
So a lot of our mentors actually came. So one of our most beneficial mentor actually came out of the Delta Prize program, Steve Felter. We used to meet with him quite frequently. Honestly, most of our mentors came from programs on campus. So Delta Prize, one of them. There's Free Ventures, which is a student-run incubator. We had a lot of mentors from there. And just people interact, people you get introduced to. And so our whole network kind of started off from Berkeley as a starting ground, and which is why we're here, and it makes sense for us to continue to be here.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hey, thanks so much, Rick, for coming on out, spending the evening with us. All right, we'll be keeping an eye out, and maybe we'll have you back in a year or two. And as you guys, it'd be great to continue to track your growth. At this time, I'd like to invite someone who's not on the agenda, but definitely worth giving a few moments to speak to you. By now, most of you have heard about the launch of a new fund, the House Fund, that's led by Jeremy Fiance. And it's focused on investing in Berkeley companies and adding to the ecosystem here. Jeremy's been very active on campus over the last several years. And so I've invited him to come and give a plug and an announcement for what he's doing with the house. So yeah, let's give Jeremy a hand. Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Jeremy Fiance.
Can you use the podium mic so we can hear you?
I'll
All right.
grab one of these.
Hello.
Yep.
Is this going?
Yep.
Hi everyone, my name is Jeremy Fiance. I'm the founder of the House Fund. We're the first fund fully focused on investing in Berkeley startups. It's a $6 million fund investing in student, faculty, and alumni startups. The genesis for the fund came from my experience as a student on the Cal campus. It's pretty awesome standing up here now because not too long ago I was in your seat. I took a ton of CET classes. The House Fund, we're proud investors in Instant Esports and other growing companies like Lilly Robotics that were founded by students who are in CET classes. There's never been a better time to be a student entrepreneur on Cal's campus. Literally, you're doing the right thing just by being in this room. If you think you want to start a company, get involved, join other campus programs. There's other accelerator programs. I actually started a company initially in a CET class, IEOR 191, and then went through the Foundry and Skydeck. And it's really exciting to continue supporting startups on the Berkeley campus. We are built to invest in startups like yours. So if you have a company, you're looking for funding, go to thehouse.fund and go to I'm a Founder, and would love to meet with you. So thanks a lot. Appreciate the opportunity, Eugene.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. All right, we'll be transitioning now into the actual presentations. As we do so, I'd like to give you a little background on the Delta Prize. It is the signature incubation program at the Satarja Center. And when people ask me to describe it, I think to myself, well, it's not really an incubator. It's not really an accelerator, but it's something in between. And so I like to describe it as a pre-accelerator, something that prepares companies to go into acceleration or to get their first round of funding. So what we do is we take companies that have some measurable validation of product market fit, but have not received significant funding yet. And then we accelerate their growth over the course of 3 months, and we do that by pairing them with a mentor that commits to meeting with them every other week. Rick talked about that. You'll meet some of the mentors from our current batch tonight. We also have VCs coming. We have 4 different VCs who came in and spent time with our companies. And we do that to help them to get their first round of funding. And so over the first 2 batches, 6 out of 8 companies, so 75% of the companies, have gone on to raise some financing either during or after the program. And it's a real testament to the quality of the founders that are emerging from Cal and the support of our mentors. Tonight, Kun Gao is back. Alan Sternberg, you'll hear from him as well. A testament to our investor network, including Michael Berlsheimer from B Partners, Pejman Mar, Mar Hershenson spent an afternoon with us. Canvas Ventures, we had a meeting with Ben Narison, and Tandem Capital spent some time on campus as well. Also want to recognize our sponsor, Wilmer Hale. And so at this time, I'd like to invite Joe to come and share a few words. He is a Cal grad, partner at Wilmer Hale, and a friend of Satarja Center. He's been supporting Cal founders here through legal office hours on campus, and for the Satarja Center, the Delta Prize for the third time. So please welcome Joe up to the stage.
So I'll keep this short and sweet. Most people do not want to hear from a lawyer. They want to hear from the VCs and the companies presenting. But we're very proud to have supported and will continue to support the Delta Prize. As Eugene mentioned, I represent a lot of companies that have started here at Cal. I've been doing this at Cal for probably 4 or 5 years, and I've seen the growth of the entrepreneur community here at Cal. And most notably, the number of companies that I represent that come out of Cal that actually get funded. Early on, it was frankly a small percentage, and it's grown exponentially. And having 75% of your companies actually get funded that have come through your program is really a testament to CET and the quality of the entrepreneur community here at Cal. So thanks again for allowing us to help support CET and the Delta Prize. And if anybody has any legal questions or would like to talk otherwise, I'll be around after the presentations. So thanks very much.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am James Gao. I am the founder and CEO of CaseForge. And we strive to improve patient outcomes by improving stabilization and placement consistency inside of medical devices. So our team is composed of a basically former graduates or current members of the Gallant Lab at UC Berkeley, which is a cutting-edge neuroscience research lab on campus. And the central idea behind CaseForge arose from when I was doing my graduate thesis. I had a significant problem. Basically, when we put someone inside an MRI machine to scan their heads to try to understand what their brain is doing, we basically put their heads in and just pad some foam in between. And this means that the people can move around. And when you're being scanned for hours at a time, you move. And movement doesn't sound like it's a big deal until you try to get the images. So here's what an image looks like if someone was moving inside the magnet. Now imagine if you're a doctor. Can you find a cancer tumor in there? It's a blurry mess. It's very, very difficult to figure out what's even going on in there. And if we wanted to do the cutting edge research that we were trying to do, we have to have images that look like that. So how do we fix this problem? Well, we came up with a very simple solution. Basically what we did was we measured the person's head. We built a 3D model of their head, and then 3D printed a customized rigid plastic helmet that fits around them and completely fills the space in between the person and the MRI machine. And we call this product the head case, and you can see an actual example here in this picture. This product is extremely effective at eliminating motion. We went from about 2 millimeters average motion across an entire scan down to 0.2 millimeters. So to give you an idea of exactly how we actually made this product, we're going to give you a little demo. So when we first started making this product, we had an issue. We were deriving the 3D scan of that person using an MRI machine. So this kind of poses a chicken and the egg problem, right? So how do you improve the MRI by using an MRI scan? Well, thanks to the help of the Delta Prize mentor, and we came up with a solution to this problem. What we did was we used a commercial 3D scanner to actually acquire that initial scalp image of the person's head. And then this process is actually so simple that Alex here is demonstrating exactly what's happening by scanning Eugene's head. And once we get this 3D model, we can put it into CAD software, design this thing really quickly in an automated fashion, and we can print it in one shot using our custom-built large format 3D printer. And you can see we've printed one of these head cases for Eugene, and it should fit quite well. Yep. And now if you were to go into the MRI machine, yeah. Now if he were to go into the MRI machine, not only would it be nice and comfortable for him, it would actually allow him to be scanned for relatively long without having him kind of focus on keeping everything perfectly still. So that in fact makes the whole procedure much easier to deal with. When we start demonstrating our products to a bunch of other collaborators, we've gotten a lot of interest in trying to get access to these things. So we've already shipped out products to a whole bunch of collaborating universities. We've shipped out 3 to Carnegie Mellon University, 2 to Caltech, and we've shipped out quite a few to other collaborators at UC Berkeley. Fundamentally, we want for our product to address 3 main markets. The MRI market, the MRI research market, we've already started kind of hitting up, talking to collaborators. And although this does seem like a fairly small market, the thing is we are saving researchers so much time and money in terms of MRI time that we can actually still make very, very high margins with this device. The next biggest market that we really want to address is the radiotherapy market. So this is when a doctor is trying to blast a cancer cell inside your head using radiation beams. And in this situation, it is absolutely critical that you do not move, because if you move even half a millimeter, that means that you are blasting healthy brain tissue instead of the cancer, and you really don't want that. There are existing competitors in this field, but what they do is very crude compared to what we can do, and we can prescribe positioning ahead of time before you even see the magnet. And finally, we want to streamlined this process so well such that anytime that anyone needs to go into an MRI machine to get a head image, we can produce one of these things so quickly and easily that they'll just have one waiting for you at the MRI suite and you don't have to think about it anymore. And it'll reduce a lot of overhead in terms of how much scans get lost due to motion. So our journey in the last 3 months at the Delta Prize has been very informative and has been extremely beneficial for us. When we first started, we were immediately put in contact with VCs and we had to pitch in front of them. And a lot of them really helped us kind of focus in on what are the friction points between the adoption of our product and how we will actually deploy it. And it really helped us kind of tighten up the messaging and how we position our product. We were also put in contact with our mentor, Alan Sternberg, who's been extremely beneficial. It was his advice who had us look at these commercial 3D scanners, which completely streamlined the process and actually made it possible to deploy this at any kind of a scale. And finally, just last week, we started a collaboration with UCSF to try to get this product into a clinical trial to see if we can get this into a clinical environment. So we are seeking $1 million to really launch this product out into the world, into UCB as fellow researchers. And we're really seeking clinical trials at UCSF and Stanford hospitals to begin our clinical trial. Thank you again to everyone at the Delta Prize, especially Eugene No, who really helped us kind of train our pitch sessions and get us in contact with all these different people. Alan Sternberg for giving us this great mentorship opportunity and really helping us kind of streamline our whole process. Everyone, all the VCs that we've talked to, all the other mentors that we've talked to, and everyone else that we forgot to mention. Thank you again for your attention, and we are CaseForge.
So oftentimes we have a panel of investors who pepper the team with questions, but what we want to do was something a little bit different. I'm going to invite Alan, CaseForge, their mentor, to come up and share his thoughts about his experience mentoring the team.
Hello. I want to thank Eugene for giving me this great opportunity to mentor Berkeley teams. Hopefully more to come. And I just want to say how much of a pleasure it's been working with the CaseForge team. James, Alex, and Young are a strong team with complementary skills, which is great to see. And most importantly, from my perspective as a mentor, they were really open to new ideas and eager to think through problems without being hampered by their own biases, because we all often get stuck in tunnel vision, but they did not. So, and I hope to wish them success in this venture and hopefully be a part of it as well.
All right. Thanks, Alan. Yeah. All right. Good job. Okay, next up we have Choice Labs / Flock.
Thanks, Eugene. Hey everyone, my name's Christopher Fong. I was a Haas MBA, and my co-founder, my co-founder was a EECS major. Any EECS majors here? All right. And what we would like to talk about today is the story of how Choice, which is what we came into the Delta Prize, became Flock. And as a result, it's really because of the Chautaja Center, the Delta Prize mentors, as well as the investors that helped us along this journey. So in terms of the way I found my co-founder, and this is one of the key things for any startup, is I managed to meet Neil. This is back in 2011, back when he was part of a program called the Founder School. And Professor Sidhu, out here somewhere, he also helped invested and started that program. I was paired up with him and his startup back then. That's not me over there. This is him today. Shorter hair. But what we were able to do is figure out how to work with each other back then, but also continue the relationship, and we've been working together since last May. We joined this program in February. So what is Choice? So if you go to this website, getchoice.io, what it is a marketplace for freelancers in the digital marketing space. what you're going to see back in the future in 2020 is 40% of workers, professionals here in the US will be freelancers. It doesn't need to be their full-time job. It could be their side gig. You think of the Uber or Lyft drivers you may meet as well. Some of them aren't full-time. Some of them are doing on the side, but a lot of them are what we call freelancers. And what we wanted to do is figure out a best way possible to help freelancers in the digital marketing space, which is a growing space due to everyone going on Snapchat and other digital websites. And so we wanted to match people who were looking for jobs and people who needed to hire these people. So all these businesses don't necessarily want to hire full-time employees. And all these really good individuals who are digital marketing experts don't necessarily want to work in one or two companies. So I spent 8.5 years at Google, a lot of that in the advertising space. So I know all these people who are the best digital marketers. They don't necessarily want to stay in one company. So what we thought was, why don't we create a marketplace for these two needs to be matched up? What we found from speaking to a lot of our customers, from actually launching the product, that's a live website, and we actually have paying customers today, was this is an agency, not a tech platform. And it's really due to the thanks of one of the Delta Prizes mentors and investors that we actually had a meeting with that pointed out that, hey, I've seen this idea before multiple times, and it can be a good business, but it's not a tech platform. The prior people have come to pitch me the idea wasn't actually successful in whether it's raising money, what didn't need to raise money. They were actually able to be financially sustainable. So just for a bit of fun, between understanding this to what we decided to do, anyone want to guess what we pivoted to and how many customer development interviews we did? So there's a prize. The prize can either be a $20 gift certificate to Starbucks or 1 month's subscription to Tidal. So who would prefer to try to guess it? How many interviews, customer development interviews did we do? You throw out the numbers? 0. Incorrect. Yep. 2,000? No, not within 3 months, unfortunately. Much less. Yep. Less. More? No. Just throw out numbers. No. Lower than 78. 72. Tidal or Starbucks? Should she get a Starbucks? Is she sleepy in class? Is she?
Who answers something well can have a Starbucks certificate.
Or Tidal subscription. So 72, thank you. Maybe I've seen my slides, so. So what we decided to do was look at what are the problems that Neil and I have on a day-to-day basis. You heard the first speaker talk about what were the best problems to solve is your own problems, right? So when I left Google in April of last year, I decided to set up a community for ex-Google startup founders. The community started with 40 people last May, just a meeting in the city, to 800 people. So today, that community called Zooglepreneurs, it's 800 individuals. You can check it out, check out zooglepreneurs.com. And what I realized through that process was we actually found a problem that communities are broken, groups are broken. Let me talk to you about in your experience, in your situation. Let's say you want to start an esports company today. How do you reach out to Rick? You can sort of do a pit dive at the end and try to get his details after this, try to tweet at him. What needs to happen, though, is a technology for you to reach out to individuals that you need to get in touch with, and for that technology to get him or her to agree to speak with you. That's what we're building. And Zooglepreneurs is the first community that's going to be using it. The community was featured in Wall Street Journal just last week. We had our first pitch day to match investors as well as the companies. And as I said, we have Zooglepreneurs is the first community that's adopting it. We've signed up Sydney Tech's Meetup. I'm from Sydney, Australia, 5,000 members over there. And Cornell undergrad, I went to Cornell undergrad, 200 members there. In addition, we actually have a European Tech Hub, who will be our first paying customer, and I'll be flying out there on Tuesday. So very briefly, who's a senior or junior out there? Does anyone plans in the summer? Who wants to go to Europe? Okay. My email's at the end of this. We may be needing people out there. So a couple of quick points. So seriously understand the problems and the pain points and have accessible customers with people from Cornell, Sydney Tech Meetup, this European customer, someone who was actually one of the mentors. She actually referred us to the operating partner at the firm. And I know I'm running out of time, so I just want to walk through this. From February, we entered Delta Prize. We tested if choice could be a technology platform. We pivoted to flock after customer interviews. I'm flying off to this country on next Tuesday, and hopefully over the June we'll be developing it. I'm going to skip over that because in terms of contacting us, feel free to, whether it's through LinkedIn or email, one, about if you need an internship over in Europe, that's one. Two, if we provide any advice regarding your startup. Neil's done many. I've done advised many other startups. We'd love to really help where possible. I think the big thing, as Jeremy was saying, there are more and more financing options for you. The last story about the third VC, this meeting was last week. Eugene was in there, so he can set me straight if I'm interpreting incorrectly. He actually wanted to meet me the next day or over the next week if I wanted to start that technology company. But I've decided not to speak to him yet because with venture money comes obligations. And I think it's easy to say, X company is providing me hundreds of thousands of dollars or person X $1 million. There are other options. So just don't take the money that's right in front of you and be happy to walk through any circumstances, situations you have. Thank you.
I'm good. So Chris's mentor couldn't make it today because Chris didn't have a mentor. He was stuck with me. And so this is one of the challenges of running a program is being able to find a mentor who's willing to make a certain commitment with the right experience. And so I worked with Chris. Actually, our work together precedes his involvement at the Delta Prize, and we were introduced about 6 months ago. And so I've been able to see Chris and what he's been able to do with Choice and then Flock during that time. And he talked about one pivot. He's actually made 2 pivots in the time that I've been involved with him. And what I've observed in Chris is this ability to both commit fully to something and be deeply empirical. To know that he has these assumptions and to dig deep and to test those assumptions. And then when he comes to that conclusion that this is not something that can scale, then to turn very quickly to something else. And sometimes people mistake pivoting. What they call pivoting is actually thrashing. It's where you have no real sense of the direction you're going in, and you're just flopping around like a fish out of water. But what Chris has done with his 2 pivots, they've been very purposeful and very focused. And so there was a remarkable ability to focus, figure out that wasn't the direction, and then pivot another direction and to do it again. And he discovered along the way that he was sitting on top of this community that he helped to found a year ago and is exploring to see how this might be something that he can scale and offer to other startup communities. So Chris, really been impressed with your resilience and your flexibility at the same time. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. And last up, we have ChemiSense.
So hey guys, my name is Will Hubbard. I'm with a company called ChemiSense. Before I begin and talk about our company, I'd like to thank Eugene and the Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology. Spent a lot of time working here, both as a student and now as a company. So absolutely an invaluable resource to have at your disposal. So thank you. But anyway, onto our company. So at ChemiSense, we make advanced air quality monitors that leverage proprietary technology to detect all the major components that make up air pollution. So as I'm sure many of you know, air pollution across the world is an extremely huge and growing problem. And most people, when they think of air pollution, they think of dirty cities and poor air quality. And while that's one part of it, oftentimes air pollution hides in the things that you can't see. And so at ChemiSense, our main goal is to help people live more connected lives and breathe smarter through our devices to live healthier lives. So air pollution results in millions of deaths every single year which in turn creates trillions of costs. And one of the biggest problems associated with air pollution is that environmental monitors out there today don't really exist in a comprehensive solution. They can only tell you a couple of different things that are going wrong and cost thousands of dollars, or on the consumer side, will claim to detect many different things, but in reality, their standards for detection aren't that high. So we aim to sit at a middle ground, which is leveraged by our proprietary technology. So we provide professional standards in monitoring at a much lower price point than has existed to date. We convey all of our information in real time to our servers, provide instant information, analytics, pretty much everything that you want to know associated with the air quality that you're breathing. So the first step of this solution is complete and comprehensive monitoring. We detect around 22 different environmental metrics, which is far more than anything else that exists out there today. And we leverage a lot of unique things on the software side of things to make the sensors work better than anything else out there. Things like automated machine learning algorithms that help the sensors to learn their environment over time in order to become more accurate and more predictable on what we're reading. So this is a list of everything that we detect. All the chemicals and compounds and pollutants that we detect, we benchmark ourselves at the United States OSHA levels of what's safe to breathe and what's not safe to breathe. So really a complete solution. And this is what our devices look like. We're a hardware company. So unlike some other companies, there's a lot of challenges faced with being a hardware company. And it sort of breaks down the different sensors that we have in our devices and what each of these detect. Now, usually I bring a physical device when I'm demoing and just showing it to people. But as you can see, a lot of these things are really, really bad for your health. So in place of that, I thought I'd bring sort of a digital demo, if you will. So all of our devices connect to an online platform, a web application, which you can access through your browser, or, as we've just recently released an internal build, view it on your smartphone through an application. So these are actually chemical levels that I'm reading in one of our investors' offices right now. So really, it's just, connected health, helping people to breathe and live healthier lives. Another interesting thing that we're doing right now is sort of to talk about the scale of where our devices are at. We're in the batch scale of manufacturing. So we're making anywhere between 10 to 50 of these devices at any given time, and then delivering them to our early adopter customers. So this is a map of the Bay Area. We mapped air quality. We put a number of sensors on our car and drove around the Bay Area. The UC police was a little bit sketched out because we were duct taping them on our car and having devices. It sort of looks like we were doing something suspicious, but we're really just helping to provide information. Again, all of these tests are benchmarked against $10,000 plus sensors to make sure that we're performing at absolutely professional standards of monitoring. So to talk on a bit of the solutions in the markets where these are being used currently. Typically, environmental monitoring is either found in labs with really expensive machines like GC type stuff, or in oil and gas fields where the devices only detect one or two things, but quite literally cost thousands of dollars, look like a 1980s cell phone, and all the measurements are handwritten. So we just thought that was awful, and we thought we could change things by, again, finding that middle ground by bringing professional monitoring down to much more distributable price points. And our proprietary technology enables that. So again, we believe our technology has significant advantages in price, power, and sensitivity and selectivity consumption than many of the other existing competing technologies that are out there today. I realize time is a bit limited, so I'll very briefly touch on sort of the story of our technology. Brian, my co-founder, and I met actually in an IEOR class. And he came from a Caltech background where he had been working on this technology, and I myself had a background in software. And we sort of started talking about ways that we could apply hardware sensing techniques to novel techniques in software like machine learning to help the sensors perform even better than anything else that's out there, out of which was born ChemiSense. So on the hardware side of things, the four key most important parts are first polymers. We're currently using around 20 different polymers. This slide is a little bit outdated. And second is the treatment ratio that we do to them. So we embed them with conductive material like carbon nanoparticles, surfactants, plasticizers, other things. Finally, we put them into an array and then measure all the different resistances coming from the array in order to be very selective on which pollutant that we're seeing. And then again, use software to analyze it all on the back end. Of which we filed an enormous amount of intellectual property. Filled our patent, I believe, in April of last year. So this is our team, some of our background. I myself am a Berkeley grad. Brian is a Caltech grad. Our third founder, who's not on this slide, Michael, graduated from Princeton. And Dave actually completed his master's in chemical engineering from UC Berkeley as well. So to date, we've raised about $1.5 million in funding, of which a significant portion occurred in February of this year, sort of during the efforts of the program. Many of the things we're focusing right now on are the development of mass manufacturing capabilities. So Brian and some of our engineers are over in China right now working with our manufacturing partners to get there. We have a number of different pilots running to once we're able to scale up. Theoretically, these pilots will be converting into thousands of devices, mainly being delivered into commercial health networks. So yeah, that's a brief summary of what we do. Thanks again for having me here. Happy to answer any questions if anyone has some. Thanks.
Do you guys always look that happy in the lab?
No, it's sometimes we breathe a little too many chemicals.
Okay.
Makes us smile.
Stanley Hall, if you guys want to hotbox with these guys.
Yeah, so
all right?
one of our labs is over in Stanley, so feel free to come check it out.
All right, so no, stay up. I'd like to invite your mentor up in a Satarja Center Delta Prize first. We have Kun Gao, who is here, who was here earlier as a speaker about a month and a half ago, doubling as a mentor for the Delta Prize. And so hopefully we'll have future examples like Kun who come back and look for ways to give back, not just in a larger setting, but also individually in a hands-on way with our team. So I'd like to welcome Kun up to share a few words with.
So I'd like to thank Eugene for this opportunity, and Will and Brian for the opportunity to be subjected to my mentorship. I think I've really enjoyed getting to know you guys over the past few months. Obviously, being smart and creative are table stakes for being entrepreneurs, but I think there's a few other qualities that I wanted to highlight. One is you guys are very, very driven, especially with what you're doing and in hardware. The turnaround cycles are very long, and so it takes a lot of patience and being driven to really stay focused, and you guys have been. I think second is you guys are really passionate. Like this is all you guys talk about. When I visited your lab, you were very enthusiastic about releasing chemicals, dangerous chemicals, and then detecting them and showing how your sensors work better than the industrial alternatives. I think third is you guys are really humble. So you guys are doing something I think is really groundbreaking, pioneering use of polymers for detection. You guys have the ability to measure multiple dimensions at the resolution of industrial sensors, but at orders of magnitude less cost. So I really think you guys are onto something. So I really look forward to your future success.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah. All right.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Well, that concludes our presentations for tonight, and so we'll announce the winner of the Delta Prize. This is an innovation that I want to introduce to the whole approach to competition. Startup competition is really focusing on not just the final pitch presentation where VCs come in and listen to you for the first 7-8 minutes, pepper you with questions, and then deliberate, and then a puff of smoke emerges, and they come out with a winner. But this was something that we discussed among the mentors and the investors, the VCs who came in, and after deliberation amongst all of us, have to decide and make a choice and focus on who has demonstrated the most progress over the course of the program. We like to describe all of our participants as finalists. We set a really high bar for getting into the program. There were only 3 who made that cut this time around. And so it was a difficult decision, but I would like to announce that this year's Delta Prize winner is CaseForge. So I'd like to ask them to come up to the stage as we recognize them. So, yeah. Just a few questions. First, how are you going to spend the $15,000 prize?
That's easy. 3D printers.
Uh-huh.
More 3D printers. A bunch of 3D printers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Plastic.
Yeah.
Filament,
Just a sec. Yeah.
etc.
Mhm.
All these things.
Okay. So they have medium that they use to print the head cases with. They've also are building out they're scaling their operations, and so they'll need more printers. Also, I would like to mention that I want to embarrass Alex even further, but he will soon be published in Nature magazine for his research in Jack Gallant's neuroscience lab. And not only is he being published, it is the cover story. And so what's the topic?
It's about language in the brain.
Okay, so language in the brain. You'll see him on CNN and NPR and Wall Street Journal and a few other those magazines that you might have heard of. So glad to hear about your success in your research as well. So let's. Yeah. All right. Let's congratulate them. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And this is a great transition, Victoria. And so that concludes our festivities for tonight. But I know Victoria has a few more announcements to close out. So.
I can't think of a better way for us to end the series than listening to all of you. So I just want to thank you all for your inspiration, not just from giving to us and paying it forward and letting us know, but also to the mentors. So thanks. And and the most exciting thing that I'm going to do now, as you all know, this will be the very last time that I post a link. Ta-da! If you have any questions of me or questions of Nickel with regard to, yes, as we can now see the other presentations that I'm working on, please feel free to email us, let us know. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Here's our attendance link for today. Good luck on everybody's exams. If you're graduating, good luck to you in your life, and thanks for being with us. Thanks.
And the founders will be up here and willing to hang out and answer any questions you might have. Anyone who wants to go to Europe, I think there's someone who might want to help you do that. All right. Thanks, everyone. Good night.